Hey, my name's Justin, and this is The Art of Repair. And today we're going to go over one of the hottest issues in the Level 2 community. We're going to talk about how to remove the back glass off a Samsung Galaxy device. And not only that, we're going to go over some of the common failure points of why this repair kind of just breaks down and sucks sometimes. So let me ask you this. Does it feel like every other technician has pretty much got this down, but you are still sitting there struggling? You're either peeling the paint off or you're breaking the glass, and it's a pretty high ratio. At this point, you're pretty fed up, right? Well, I've got some good news for you today. Today, we are going to fundamentally break this down, okay? Because I think the truth is, I think that people just have a very big misunderstanding of not only what the back glass is made of, but how it all works and how it's all supposed to actually come up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go over the anatomy of the back glass before we get started here. That way we can understand and infer into the process new information that may open your eyes to a new way of doing things. Okay, so I'm going to show you two different pieces of glass. I'm going to show you a piece of iPhone front glass, and then I'm going to show you the actual back glass of a Samsung here. Okay, and we're going to see that they are fundamentally built totally differently. It's like saying, you know, one phone uses an OLED and the other phone uses an LCD. They're fundamentally different technologies. Okay, and this is the same thing right here. So, you know, we're going to go ahead and do this. I've got myself a little sharp blade here. I always use a number 10 blade just to be, you know, clear about what I'm using here. Little number 10 blade. This is my favorite tool to take off the back glass, but we're going to use it for some other stuff too. Let's go ahead and jump over to the microscope real fast. There we go. And I'm just going to kind of show you this, and we're gonna see the difference here. Okay, seeing is believing. Nothing like empirical evidence. So we can see we've got the edge of the glass here, and we're going to go ahead and just try and peel some of that paint up, okay? And I want you to remember the word paint because that's kind of the key here. I don't think, it's not really going to come up like that because really all this is just a layer of white paint and a layer of gray paint to put a base on the back. That's it. It sits about 14 microns off the glass, and that's some super secret important information right there for later refurb, okay? So remember that. iPhone glass is about 14 microns. Anyway, let's keep moving forward. So we can see here, it's just paint. That's it. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at some Samsung back glass, and we're going to see the difference because that word I was just using, paint, that's not universal. You can't just assume that everything's just got paint on it because this Samsung Galaxy back glass, in my opinion, is more of a laminate, and that changes things completely. Okay, so let's take a look here. This one's already kind of peeled up a little bit because it didn't really make it through the process. At some point, it just kind of found it in a bin over here. But it's a great example, okay? Now, I know you saw before where if I scratched it, it would just scratch the paint. And if we tried to come from the side, it would just scratch the paint. But on this, oh my, do you see that? Yeah, it all comes up as one big piece. Well, riddle me that, Justin. I thought this was paint. It's not paint. It's not paint at all. Like I said, it's a laminate, okay? So now that we know this is a laminate and that it's completely different, let's look at it in like a breakdown form. iPhone glass is going to be glass, paint, paint. That's it. Glass, paint, paint. If you heat it up, the paint's not going to come off. That's not how the paint works. Okay? But just to reiterate, if we got the Samsung glass, it's glass, clear, high gloss coating, and then we've got the actual like textured laminate layer, and then we can't forget that every one of those layers has to be bonded together. So we've got a real multi-layer situation going on here with adhesive in between each individual layer. So at that point, we've got something called a failure point, because if you live in like a hot climate or you're using too much heat to take this off, which is a big failure point, so pay attention here, you're going to kill that adhesive and it's going to start to break down and come up. I know here in Tucson, Arizona, just naturally, out of the box, if you have a Galaxy device, within about a year and a half to 2 years, you're going to start experiencing the actual breakdown in the laminate layer, and you're not even going to have a repaired phone. It's just going to be your phone. All right, so we've gone over the theory. We've talked about why the paint actually separates. We've talked about the anatomy and fundamentals of what make up the back glass and the laminate layer. I think it's time that we actually took one apart and actually separated it from the glass, okay? So we're going to go ahead and jump over to the other camera. Maybe we add a scope. Yeah, that sounds fun. That sounds about right. And we're going to go ahead. Get the camera nose. There we go. You can see that nice texture in there, and you should be able to see. Yeah, there we go. That's about right. So what tools are we going to use today? Okay, first and foremost, you're going to need a heat source. I would recommend either a regular heat gun, or if you have a hot air machine, that's going to work great too. You got to have some isopropyl. You need to have a playing card, and my favorite tool of all time, for the most part, the number 10 blade. You see that curve on there? That is what's going to get us in. Okay, so let's take a look-see here. Let's heat it up. I only heat up the point of entry right off the bat. I don't bother heating up the entire thing. I feel like unless you're using the big heat gun, So we're just going to heat this area up a little bit. I use the whole method of, if it's too hot to touch, it's probably ready to work on. But you also want that heat to permeate a little bit too. All right. Now here it is. Here's the magic. We know it's a laminate layer. So we're just going to take the blade. We're going to press it all the way down. You see that? See how the glass is kind of moving and warping with it? We're pressing down, pushing forward, because we're going past the laminate layer. And we're just sliding in. Look at that. Easy. So let's take our card, get a little bit of ISO on it. Now this is a tricky because I got a bunch of cameras and stuff sitting here, so I don't. Maybe we just do that. Maybe I can. Yeah, I can fit in that way. Okay. We're just going to replace the blade with that card there. You can see that little card. Now normally, obviously, I'm using a larger card. I just kind of have a little camera set up here. So once we have it in there, we've got that ISO. Look at that. We're already separated on that back end right there. Oh man, this is easy. We're in and everything. Oh man. Now, one thing I tell people to watch out for is don't put too much force, even if you're using a playing card. Okay, the reason I say that is if you watch the glass, sometimes you can see like a slight warp in the actual light coming off of it, and it'll be like a little bump. That is telling you that there's too much pressure in that area. At that point, you need to back off. Okay, you need to back off when you see that little light warp coming from the glass. Okay, so we've got the one card in there. That's kind of our placeholder card. I'm just going to go ahead and use a secondary card here. I like the casino cut cards because they give you an extra working area. We can come under the first card. Okay, we can pull out that first card. See that? Go ahead and take this off. There we go. Alright, we've got one side. Let's come over to the other side. I'm just going to hold it a little bit because at this point, there we go. At this point, we're already separated a bit, so we have some room to get back in there. It's not as big of a deal, so I'm just going to put my finger there. Put my card in a little more ISO. We can see right here. It's just sliding right down. But you can start to see the little warps happening. I don't know if you guys can see them on the camera. See that? Oh, there we go. Light warp. Anytime you see something, there we go, right there. You see that light, how it's warping? That's what you're watching for. Okay, and this is a technique you can apply across the board. This is great for iPads. You see that warping, you know you're about to have a fracture. Okay, so we're going to come back a little bit. We're going to ease off of it. We're going to get a little more ISO. we go. We're just sliding it down, kind of a little sawing motion. And you can see, I don't know if you guys can see it, but yeah, right there. You see how the laminate is creating dimples? Oh, wow. This is a greater demonstration than I thought it was going to be. You can see how weak that laminate actually is. So at the end of the day, you know, you start to see this stuff come up. Just be aware it is like an inherent flaw in how they do this. You know, like they come in, they're just like that. So, all right. All right, we are down to the bottom here. Now we can already see right here. There's like a mess up in this laminate. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, and you guys can probably see it right about here. There's a possibility that's gonna lift. So this may not be a perfect removal, but you know, we'll try. I'm not gonna apply heat, I'll tell you that. I'm probably just gonna attack this with a little more isopropyl. Oh, there you go. Yeah, it broke that little piece off. I knew it. So we're going to use our iPad trick. We're going to come around it from the other way. There we go. While we did have a little bit of laminate loss, you can see there, we still had an overall successful glass removal. And I'm not sure what was going on down there. That was kind of a fun one. But as you can tell, it's a pretty simple process. The key here is using your number 10 blade to displace the glass and to watch the glass for those light warps to make sure that you're not putting too much pressure on the glass itself. So I hope that helped you guys out today. I know this video was a little longer than normal, but this one's kind of one of those little situations that people seem to have so much trouble with that, you know, I feel like that little bit of extra time today is going to really help somebody out. So anyway, catch you next time. Don't forget, guys, if you're interested in any of the tools I use, check out the description below. I even have my own custom tools that I sell down there as well that literally do not exist anywhere else on the planet except from The Art of Repair. I also have a Patreon where you can help support the channel so I can create even better high quality content.